board. And so with that, let's see, I encourage chat. This is a panel presentation, so they may be able to keep an eye on the chat, but if they can't, I do. So I can reply there, and I can also feed questions at the end or highlight those. So, so I'm gonna this is a team presentation, so I'm gonna let them introduce themselves and launch the session on their own. So over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. We're so happy to be here with all of you. Thank you for joining us virtually. We will introduce in just a moment, but this is Imagine Equity in Process and Outcome. And so we hope to, in these next few minutes, go through all different tools that we've come across that have been really helpful to us in doing this work across the Bay, across the state, and we hope that they might be useful for you. So who are we? Because that's always good to know. So we are Guided Pathways Regional Coordinators through the Success Center at the Foundation for California Community Colleges. My name is Amal Amanda Issa, and I'm based here in the Bay, and I will pass it on to Katherine to introduce herself.
Hi, Katherine Bergman, also here in the Bay, supporting colleges with these wonderful colleagues.
Lisa.
Hi, I'm Gwyn, also with the Bay and supporting my team, and the colleges are represented below.
And Sunny.
And good afternoon, Dr. Sunny Greene. I am one of the regional coordinators that make up this beautiful San Francisco Bay Area team. I also cover some colleges in the far north. So we're so happy to be here.
Thank you. And if you're curious, we all support each other here in the Bay with our 28 colleges. We also support our colleagues across the state, and we have colleges that are very near and dear to us that we get to support one-on-one. So you can see that here on this slide. Okay, we mentioned guided pathways. What might that be? So guided pathways, originally like 6 years ago, it was like there's pillars and guided pathways stands on these pillars. Well, you know, we're the Bay, so we do things differently. We're trees. We love our trees. They are a symbol of life and they keep growing. And so when we talk about guided pathways, we're really talking about these trees that build this forest that bring us all the joys. We clarify the path. How does that look like? There's program maps, counseling in that area, entering the path. How do we get started? What's that first onboarding experience for students? Staying on the path. Students are beyond just what they're doing academically. They are whole people coming to you, and there's whole worlds that sit on their shoulders. So how do we support them in their needs? And then ensure learning. Yeah, we've been teaching for quite a long time, but how can we change the way we teach? How can we explore the ways in which students learn? And so really digging deep into what that looks like is another part of guided pathways. All of it is an experience, just like walking into a forest. You don't just stare at one tree. Maybe you do, I don't know. But like generally you kind of take it all in because it all creates that feeling of belonging, the feeling of support. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Katherine.
Thank you, Amanda. With that incredible forest of guided pathways work in mind, we had a couple learning and process outcomes that we wanted to share and reach today. We hope to bring forward some liberatory design tools to support your college community redesign efforts, particularly if you're seeking to integrate racial and socioeconomic justice into your student-centered redesign. And we're excited to test drive some of those tools today and to send you each off with a canvas full of resources. And then in terms of process outcomes, we hope to practice these habits of mind and mindsets via collaborative facilitation, universal design for learning, and liberatory design itself. Next slide, please. Central to our focus on equity and process and outcome is the Foundation's goal for shared leadership. We can't do this alone. We will burn out. And so we're really grateful for this collaborative facilitation model from Amanda and our team. And she adapted this during the shift to online meetings in 2020. actually March 2020, she adapted it. And she found this way to daylight all the roles of inclusive online meeting spaces. And so we'll share the link to this. So again, the classic facilitator, documenter, and we've expanded beyond those to process checker and tech support. And so really the process checker is keeping folks engaged, and ensuring all voices are heard and invited in if needed, as well as broadening tech support to include things like chat checker, which is critical, and music and other effective tools. Next slide, please. As we grappled as a team with all that emerged and it was exacerbated in 2020, we want to give a huge nod in appreciation from the Oakland-based teachers of the National Equity Project, and share our sharing of their tools under the Creative Commons license. Their experiential learning cycle approach to meetings asks us all to intentionally build in effective, imaginal, concrete or conceptual and practical elements to every single meeting we have, and with the hope that we'll maximize adult learning and engagement, will attend to the effective as well as cognitive needs of every participant, provide ways for all learners to engage, and then build participation and ownership of all the objectives in every space that we hold for folks. We are excited to experience this today with you, starting right now. I'm going to hand it over to Lisa.
Thank you, Katherine. So before we continue, I'm inviting everyone to participate with me in a box breathing exercise. We're going to take a minute to do this deep breathing technique to help with focus and relaxation. You will inhale slowly and deep for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale slowly and deep for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and repeat. So we're going to watch the prompts on the slide, and please just join in as you watch us going through the forest and the trees.
Thank you, Lisa, for that. So one of the things that we really strive to do is when we learn new tools to be able to put them right into action. And so one of the things that we are offering for you is an equity leadership framework that was adapted from the National Equity Project, which is based out of the Oakland, San Francisco area. And so our adaptation was to acknowledge the ableist language and to use recognize in place of see. We wanted to make sure that it was inclusive. The equity leadership from NEP is an emergent approach where you're moving from the inside out, as opposed to traditional leadership, top-down pyramid. And so we want to be able to think about equity leadership as moving from the inside out. And in the center of those three embedded circles is recognize. And equity leadership is all about learning, whereas traditional leadership is more about performance. And so we really want to kind of approach our leadership and thinking about equity in a learning stance. And so this is what we're offering to you today, is that in the center, we recognize and understand that the territory that we're all navigating right now, we're using both self-reflection and a broader outward or community reflection. So we want to be able to look or to recognize, see how easy that is to do, to recognize what's going on inside as well as what's going on outside of ourselves. And the next circle, engage, we're really striving to make meaning of others and our own current situation that we're all grappling with, and to be able to create the relational containers for the complex work that we're all faced with equity and just being inclusive and equity focused. And so the outer circle is act. And in this approach, we decide on what leadership actions and design approaches we want to learn more about to be able to tackle the equity challenge that we're all facing. And so this equity leadership provides a frame of reference to support the equity leaders out there that are navigating a complex environment. And it also helps to build and strengthen equity leaders' capacity for purposeful leadership and action. And this emergent approach, as you see with the slide, is at the center intersection of three disciplines: equity, complexity, and design. And each of them contain theory, knowledge, and approaches to practice. And I apologize, we don't have time to dig deep into each one of those. So we're just giving you a little appetizer, a little teaser, and our resources will dive deeper into those disciplines. But this equity work is so framed around the goal of developing the liberatory and resilient systems that increase the capacity to bring about more equitable outcomes and experiences. So we offer this to you, and we hope that you find this framework and our resources that we curated for you helpful to you in your equity work. So next slide, please.
Thank you, Dr. Greene. And so to keep diving into this experiential process of learning, I'm going to next focus on our imaginal cycle. An imaginal experience or learning opportunity invokes the imagination. It's learning that involves intuition and imagination. And so things like visualization, tapping into hopes, using metaphors or music. And one example of that is freedom dreaming. I'd like to invite someone to read this quote by the amazing and dynamic author, Benita Love. And I can't see people, so if you want to just come off mic, I'd appreciate your voice in this space.
Freedom dreaming is imagining worlds that are just, representing people's full humanity, centering people left on the edges, striving in solidarity with folks from different identities who have struggled together for justice, and knowing that dreams are just around the corner with the might of people power. Dr. Benita Love.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So freedom dreaming is a practice of envisioning a world free from oppression and injustice. It helps us imagine a better future and motivates us to work towards it. We all work within systems of oppression that are systematic mistreatment, exploitation, and marginalization of certain groups by those in power. Oppression leads to inequities and injustice. When we freedom dream, it allows us to tap into our hopes and dreams for liberation, allowing space and opportunities to slow down and dream. We are able to work within a human-centered process that generates breakthrough solutions to address exclusion and inequities, which is at the heart of liberatory design. Next slide, please. And so now I encourage you to contribute to our collective process of imagining a world free from oppression and injustice. Don't hit send yet, but take a moment and type in the chat a few words or phrases connected to your vision of freedom and the possibilities for our students' future. And then when I say hit send, we will just, everyone's comments will come down in a chat waterfall, so we can see them all at once in the chat. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to think about it, and then when I say hit send, they will all come into our chat. And hit send. Oh, it's so nice to see all these. I see love and inclusion, authenticity, feeling seen, fulfillment. Everyone has the means to attain their goals. This is all wonderful. A future in which humility is normal, mistakes are encouraged, acceptance. Thank you, everyone. That's great. Yes, and feel free to add on to respond and comment to others that are standing out for you and resonating with you. And I will now pass it on to Amanda. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, please do keep liking and hearting these comments. It's so good to see what you all think of when you are dreaming. So we've taken you now through imaginal, affective, and conceptual. And so we're going to end with a bit of practical. So then how can we take this into our work and create these spaces that encourage creation, movement, growth, and support of our students? And so I'm going to now pass it, I believe, to Dr. Greene. Yes.
Okay, so remember the 3 circles of equity leadership, where we recognize at the beginning, we move into engage, and then we move into act. And one of the tools or the resources that we'll be sharing with you is our Canva graphic, where we curated a variety of tools that we felt highlighted a particular phase in the equity leadership. Now, it's not all one and done, as you realize that a lot of them move through all 3 phases, but they may predominantly show up, or you might use them in recognize and use a different one or several other ones in engage and act. And so it's all a continuum. And what we've done is we've linked up these, which you right now obviously cannot click on, and then, but you will get those before. So we're going to highlight one from recognize, and then one from engage, and one from act. And so the recognize, I believe, is on the next slide, which is, oh, the Peralta Online Equity Rubric. Imagine that. So I believe I am passing that off to Katherine, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
We just wanted to say, if as you get the visualization, you're able to click through. We were receiving so many tools, and we're like, with fatigued brains, like, how can we use these at the right time in the right place? And so we wanted to highlight, this is one of the recognized tools to support recognizing and understanding the territory you're navigating. And we love how the Peralta Online Equity Rubric looks at each of these areas to allow you to think through what are you and your students navigating. The next slide, we dive into one of the tools that, oh, thank you, Dr. Stark, is the SCARF framework. And the SCARF framework supports us to engage with others to make meaning of situation. And we thought this tool was particularly powerful because it looks at all the domains that might be at play when we are collaborating with others, from a small meeting to a large, like, multi-college partnership. That status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness will all be at play, and how those can impact. And so we hoped that this would be a lovely example of one of the tools that we've curated and collected that could support with your engagement with others. And the final one on the next slide is one that I'm so sorry, perfect. These are the mindsets that are offered by the National Equity Project's Liberatory Design practice. And I too had to put my glasses on because these are incredible, but there are so many of them. At the heart of Liberatory Design for Equity is mindset and practice. It's the idea of creating intentional places to pause, to notice and reflect while you're co-designing and hosting spaces, not just to support diversity, equity, and inclusion, but deeper belonging. And such reflective action asks us as designers and leaders to notice, again, what's going on for ourselves, right, through the lens of our identity, our bias, our values, our emotions, our power and assumptions, and also to notice what's going on for the collective, to have situational awareness, the context, the people, the power, the history, and the current context. And then to reflect on our actions and impact and emotion and relationships. And through this, these mindsets are offered as perhaps even habits of mind to support your reflective thinking and then your praxis, your action. And we wanted to encourage everyone to put on your glasses, to lean into the screen, we will not judge, and to review these incredible mindsets and think about which might be applicable to where your college or your learning community is right now. And so they include things like attending to healing, taking action to learn, working to transform power, working with fear and discomfort, embracing complexity, focusing on human values, seeking liberatory collaboration, building relational trust, sharing, not selling, recognizing oppression, practicing self-awareness, and exercising creative courage. And they come, as Amanda's just shared with you, as a wonderful deck of cards that you can even print out and have on your desk or in meeting spaces. And so we'll often choose one or two of these to embody during a meeting or a process. So I'm going to stop talking and let everyone take a deeper look. And this was our action for everyone to engage in. Which of these you might choose? Amanda, may we go back one slide so they're visible? Beautiful, Dr. Stark. And then I'll ask people if you feel comfortable to share your preferred mindset for where your work is, where your community is in the chat. And I'll ask my own team to do that as well.
These are wonderful. In recognizing everybody's, potential to maybe want to give voice to that, yet we also invite you to speak it aloud if you wish.
Thank you so much for all taking a look at these, and we hope that they, like the other tools, are supportive resources for your work. And I'm so glad to see them keep popping in. We feel like the National Equity Project Liberatory Design Tools are a backpack of gold in the tired, fatigued, and sometimes spaces facing trauma and scarcity that many of us work within.
Absolutely. And I'll add just a little bit of a reflection to the mindset cards. These are really helpful tools when you are creating maybe conversations for teams, and you can start the conversation with, like, in this session, we are focusing on working with fear and discomfort, or this is how it was designed. And so this kind of helps set a tone of, like, okay, this is where we're at. We're all coming in from different places, but this is how it's been designed. We welcome all mindsets, but knowing how things are structured or how they are meant to, what they're leading towards, can help for those walking in to know, how do I engage here? What do I bring to this space at this time? So these mindsets really have been helpful in how we design our own conversations with each other and with larger teams. All right. We're so good on time. I'm loving this. We were like 45 minutes. How's this going to happen? And I'm so glad we do have the time, because I'm going to bring that, let Lisa take over a bit more freedom dreaming, which we all love.
So yes, I am really glad that we are able to end and circle back to freedom. This is definitely an act. And I just want to uplift that freedom dreaming is the ability to act, speak, and think without external restraints. And so in thinking about that, I am going to encourage everyone and invite you to use the Padlet to connect and to collectively put our efforts to claim and define what our power to hope, dream, and imagine a just world that we can create together. So if you can either hop on your phone, I thank you, Amanda, for putting the link in the chat, access the chat. In a few words, phrases, connect to your vision of freedom and the possibilities for the future. But this time, I'd like you in the Padlet to add images, pictures, affirmations, quotes, gifts, and don't feel you have to be limited to just one. You can add more than once. So once you get onto that link, click on the green plus in the
Did I freeze or did she?
I'm thinking it's Lisa.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's Lisa.
She'll be
Okay.
back soon, I'm sure. But in the meantime, yes, if we can take the Padlet and start adding, let's see, write a few words or phrases connected to your vision of freedom and the possibilities of the future, and then add images, add pictures, affirmations, quotes, gifs, anything that, or GIFs, I really don't even know how to say it. Add to this Padlet. Let's create a Padlet of freedom dreaming. So we'll give you all some time to do that. I love the ease and comfort for pursuing dreams. It's like, make a dream and go for it, not like have a dream and just keep dreaming on it. You know, it's like, it's there and it's attainable. Go for it. Oh, the box breathing. We can share that link. We love it. I think we have it right here.
Sorry about that. Internet unstable.
No worries. We're just reading off, we just started reading some of the things that are being shared in the Padlet.
Thank you.
We read the first, oh, no, not the first two anymore.
And so just also want to invite people to, if they want to use this in their meeting spaces, to continue adding to the freedom dreaming and create that collective together we're building and reimagining what that looks like. Feel free to take the link and bring that into your meetings or in your workspaces or with people that you would like freedom dream with. I really like someone who puts the bell hooks when education is the practice of freedom. That's very powerful. And so I want to thank everybody for adding to the Padlet. Feel free to continue. We would like to open up now for any questions or anything people would like to just either just talk and bring up, but definitely if you have questions for us, we'd like to leave this last few minutes for that. And you can feel free to type it in the chat if that's easier for you to do, or come off mic.
And even if you don't have a question, if there's something that resonated with you or that you thought that you want to share about a particular activity or something that you heard, feel free to also give voice to that or throw it in the chat.
And I see your hand, Inger, feel free to jump in.
First of all, this is like unbelievably fabulous. This is my favorite presentation yet. And you've given us so many resources, which is also fabulous. So I have a question about, besides inviting people to watch this presentation later, about how to build, how to include, invite, and get colleagues to come to an interest and a knowledge and investment in this kind of leadership. And how do you do that?
We're definitely the Bay region, and we work with colleagues around the whole state, from the Oregon border to Mexico and Nevada to San Francisco. And so when we first started, this was a little woo-woo. Like, people were like, I'm not ready for this. My region's not ready for this. So we just started doing it in sometimes the most boring meetings. And to have music and art and breathing is just brings so much comfort to our bodies, and in some cases joy. You know, we're at a regional consortium meeting about CTE, and people are box breathing and dreaming about what they want for their students. And it just, I didn't know if it would work, and it did. So that's been one way that I've observed of bringing folks to the table. And we just recently have begun moving it offline and in person, and it's equally, you know, people's bodies seem to just respond to it. Kind of the basic, like your physical and your emotional response is really good. So those were two I could think of.
Yeah.
Additionally, Inger, you bring up a good point. It's like, oh, how can we, package this to share all these fabulous resources? So one of the things that we created, or we started here in the Bay, is kind of plethora or a site where we could put a lot of these tools with explanation and best practices and things like that. And so we created, because I am a Canvas nerd, we created that Canvas Guided Pathways resource site. And in the last slide, there's a self-enrollment link. Oh, thank you, Amanda. She threw that in the chat. There's a self-enrollment link if you are a current Canvas user. If you're not, you can become one. So just email me. My email is also in the chat. You can email me and I can work to get you a Canvas account created, and then you have access to these resources and others from across the state. And so it has grown, and we have been really excited about offering those. And it's what I like to call just-in-time support. So we'll put them up there, and then I'll have a college be like, oh, there's something that I saw at a particular conference, the Pathways to Equity conference, and I'm like, hey, that's in module whatever, and so it's there. We are constantly adding and adapting to it. So yeah, that's one way that they can also get these resources.
I could also add to the question that I think what really helped us engage in a lot of these tools was we were all given an opportunity to have our own PD that shared these tools. So we all had an opportunity to take NEP courses, and we got to choose which ones. And then also what I think is so valuable is when you have the chance to take what you learn and apply it like almost quick, like right away. And we had that opportunity as a team. So we had a learning phase, and then we had like an implementation phase. And the implementation phase was exciting. It was also rocky because, as Katherine mentioned, not everything is accepted with open arms. But afterwards, so then there's that implementation, and then there's like reflection and looking back to see like the outcome. Even the rocky bits of it became one of the like most fulfilling moments, because it's like, we all got it. Like, okay, you didn't want it at first, didn't see the value, but pushing through. And I think that's one of the mindset cards too, right? That discomfort and being open to learning and applying something. And you're like, oh, wow, that actually is useful. So I think one thing that really allowed our team to embrace this and really just embed it into everything we do now is having that learning, implementation, and reflection cycle. Recognize, engage, act. Yeah. And Katherine just dropped a free resource. I think you're about to say that. Go ahead.
The other thing we really have been grateful to the National Equity Project is they're all Oakland based and they're former teachers. So everything is shared under Creative Commons license. They want everyone to have these resources, and they also pretty rhythmically do free webinars to give folks that don't have professional development resources available to them a chance to join. And then if you sign up, you have free access to all their many of their recorded webinars, including their 2020 webinar, where they very nervously presented the mindsets and modes for the first time. They had just created them in the middle of the pandemic, and they were like, we don't know if this is going to work. And they had 300 people on, all test driving them. So I really, as a former OUSD teacher, as a former Peralta alumna and employee, I just really appreciate their commitment to open access and sharing, not selling.
Well, if there aren't any other questions, I'm like looking around the room. And if the facilitators have any other remarks, we are right at time, just about, but I'll pass it to Inger to close us up. But it's been a privilege speaking with all of you and sharing our journey through this and the resources, and hope you all get to play with them too.
Thank you so much, Katherine and Amanda and Sunny and Lisa. As I said, this has been really fabulous for me. I chose this one to watch. When we get to sort of choose which ones we moderate, and I knew I wanted to be here anyway. So thank you so much. So I'm going to turn off the recording.